We all deal with challenges in different ways. We all perceive things differently and find it difficult to see a way forward occasionally. My way of overcoming this is to be inspired by the stories of others. I have to say, my mind was absolutely blown when I interviewed Uliana. She and her husband, Andrii, are based in the Ukraine. They had 5 children, one pandemic, and one war to deal with when they launched their glamping business. But they were determined, and as she told me, they weren't building a business, they were building a dream. Get ready to be inspired. This is episode 63. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. Uliana, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I have to say that I was really inspired by the fact you reached out to me to share your story, because your story is one which is quite epic, especially being based where you are. So before we go any further, let's talk about that. Where are you based in the world? Where is your glamping site based?
Our glamping and camping pitch is based in Ukraine, which is for now in most news feeds known as the place of war. Luckily enough, Ukraine is very big, so we are located in the western part of Ukraine, which is closer to Polish border, which means we are really far from the actual front line. It's like more than 1,000 kilometers, but definitely, as the whole world, and we especially are affected by the war. And the story today is like that we actually launched the first season of our camping business was started during the wartime. So it was like 2 months after the actual war started here. But definitely the main idea of having us at the podcast, and I'm so excited that you have us. Thank you for that opportunity, is more to talk about Ukraine as a location not only of the war, as we, most people wouldn't know where Ukraine is, although we are a big country in the middle of Europe. But now a lot of people know about Ukraine, but know because of the negative effect, right? Because of war. And I wanted to maybe push a bit on the positive side, saying that, hey, even during such difficult times, good things can happen. So my story would be kind of more inspiring people. So there's like no perfect time to start your dream, right? So good things can happen even if it's a worst day of your life. And also maybe to talk about Ukraine as a big country, as a country rich of natural resources. We have nice mountains. We have welcoming people. So maybe the day when the war would end and we'll live our normal lives, someone would consider coming to Ukraine, so can consider investing in Ukraine, buying property here, starting a camping business here. So I think that that's like my main story, not just to share where we at and to talk about Ukraine as a wartime, but to talk about Ukraine in the future state as an evolving country and as a nice and trending market for camping and glamping business.
It's really interesting because in my time working with lots of different business owners like yourself, helping them set up and go through that whole process, all the steps that are needed to set the business up, I've always talked to them about what's been your biggest challenge so far, what's been your biggest barriers so far. And I have to say, I've never, ever come across somebody that war is one of the biggest challenges. But absolutely amazing that you still persevered, you continued regardless, you had your dream, you knew what you wanted for your family, and you've carried on. And I think you've raised a really good point there about that a country does need to promote itself and to look at the positive side of what it does, and to say that we can't just be defined by what's going on in one part of our country. We do need to continue with business as normal. That's how the economy continues. That's how people continue to enjoy, time and their lives. And that's important as well. I know it's terrible what's going on with the war. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I wanted to talk to you because you have a very large family, don't you? You have a family of 5. So that must have been a challenge in itself. But what yes. Was that part of the reason that you wanted to set up your business, is because of your children?
Well, first of all, the year we launched the campaign and the war started, I just gave birth to my 3rd daughter. So she was actually 2 months old when we started. This is a big family. Well, we and my husband, we don't call it a business, right? We call it a dream. And that's actually what it is. And I think this is how it started. And that's why we kind of keep going it no matter what, because we initially decided that we'll be flexible with this decision. And like, it's just 2 of us with no extra investments. We have both full-time jobs, because we know that this project is not yet at the stage where we'll be fully able to leave our jobs. But anyways, yes, this is kind of a dream come true, because we believe that camping business and actually being outdoors is a healing part of our daily routine. We met with my husband as we were in the scouting organization. It's like in Ukraine it's called Plast. It's a very kind of it's a national wide organization, but it also promotes this like living in nature, being able to cope in any situation, being able to live in a tent and make a fire, and also all this kind of bonding together and be a friendly person, etc. So this is kind of like where it started. But also my parents were both an alpinists, and we were also raised as a kids that we were usually having our best time outside. So we were biking, we were going to mountains, we were hiking, we were skiing, and this is the life approach that we share with our kids. So they also go to the ski school, and we usually go to ski. They have bikes, and as they grow up with all the technologies and all the online world, it's very important for us as a parents to show them that there's a lot of world outside of online. And I know that there is a time that they will stick to cartoons, and we need that silent time too. But also I do enjoy the idea that when we are out, like, they are busy all the time. They have their sticks. I don't know. They're dirty, but they are happy and they're tired. And when we were younger and there were no kids, we usually traveled with my husband abroad. As I'm saying, there are not much campings in Ukraine. And we kind of discovered for us that there's a lot of comfort that you can have living in a tent outside with a lot of infrastructure, but having the same idea that you are out, right? And for us, it was kind of mind blowing. Like, oh, okay, so you can have a rest with the comfort, not just like with no bathroom to go to. And like, this is what the first one idea came. So that's nice, and that's kind of extended the limits, because usually when young parents have kids, they need like more of comfort. They travel with more luggage and more things. They need kind of more, but that's the way of adult thinking, that their kids need more. That's not the case. Kids don't need more. They need like clothes to change. They need water to to wash their hands, but they need happy parents as well. And that's when we decided, okay, so we can travel with kids. It's not that easy to hike with them because you need to carry them on, except of the backpack. But you can travel because you have a place where you can take a shower, when you can cook food, not just on fire, but also use a fire. And that's when we understood that for us, it's even easier to travel and stay in camping or some kind of facilities than in hotels, because in hotel you have this all kind of, you have a lot of stuff. You need to check in and check out, and that's the long process. And then when you go into your room, it's usually a small room, and then it's so difficult to get those kids out because they have a comfort, they have a TV and etc. And it's all about a long period that you are inside. And we are kind of parents when we usually have a long trip just for the weekend, and we kind of have a lot of spots to visit, but we have like 2 days. So time is, is important for us. And that's when the idea came, is like, hey, having a rest with kids outside is the best option you can give to them. And kind of we find it very emotionally important for us to be outside, especially, as I mentioned, nowadays we have a lot of stress, right? Work, deadlines, budgets, war, right? And this year, this summer proved for us good that you need a place to go to where you kind of a bit switch off. There was a period during this year when we were like constantly online and just sweeping the news feeds, because you kind of need to know what's happening. But when you go to the mountains, there is some at some point you kind of let it go, right? Because you have a sun, you have a nature, you have your place where sleep, and this is the a very important place when you kind of feel safe, right? In all kind of meanings.
Absolutely. And also you're switching off, aren't you? And you're making memories for your children, the same way as your parents helped you have these amazing memories of being out in nature, and you're helping them have the same. So they're not just hearing the negative news all the time. They're actually having these amazing memories and seeing that their parents are continuing to live a good life and to try and, persevere and be strong. And I think showing by example is always so important. And so these are really fantastic reasons that you just charged ahead regardless. I cannot quite believe that you did, with the amount of children and all of the other challenges you've had. But tell me a little bit about your business. What's your business? What have you set up so far?
Okay, so that's actually a small pitch, 100 kilometers from a big city, which is the city of Lviv. This is a local center in the western part of Ukraine. The pitch, we actually found the pitch via internet, which is strange enough, but we saw the photo, we'd come to the pitch, and we've seen the view and the scenery, and it was like fantastic. We thought, okay, so that's it. Whatever we do here, that's the view we want to have. And that actually has the view for the mountain, which is called Parashka, which is one of the highest mountains in our region. It's not the highest in Ukraine, but it's pretty high. So the location is pretty attractive because we have a nice waterfall nearby, which is like 4 kilometers, a nice easy walk with kids. You can go hiking for that mountain, which is a longer and a more difficult trip, but also if adults or maybe some teenage or more grown-up kids, it's possible. And also we have some rocks and nice woods around, and we have a small river running just near the beach, which is called Small River, and in Ukraine it's Mala Richka, and that's how our campaign is called, Mala Richka, because we wanted to stick to the location. It was important for us. We have an amazing community because we are located near a village, and our main idea was kind of to attract the people that live in that village, to give them work and kind of share our vision of that business, and have them believe in that. Because most of people, they work in the nearby bigger cities. There are not much farmers anymore in small villages. They usually have maybe not much cattle, so like one cow and a few chickens. And we want to kind of promote them not to go for work for big cities and they spend like 2 hours drive or 3 hours drive to the city, but have something locally. And all the staff that works with us are local people. Our administrators are 2 boys, and they are like 20-year-olds, but they are amazing. They love what they do. They're helping us around. And actually, the people that build the building we have on site are locals. And that was a best choice and best idea, because they really feel like it's theirs, right? So like they belong to it. It's not like they're just employees, but they feel a part of it. And this is something I really enjoy because I see that they like working there and they throw up ideas how to improve something, or what should we build next in there, or where should we build it. We just like me and Andrii just saying like, okay, maybe we'll do something there. Wait for it, we have an idea, we'll do it, no worries at all. And that's amazing. So the site is pretty small. We have safari tents, just the tents. There are no actual cabins or buildings, maybe sometime later, but for now it's just tents. We have two beds, tents, and some have an extra foldable bed. And also the pitch is allowed that you can bring your own tent and just stay. We have like one big building which has a cafe and kitchen, and also like self-service kitchen when you can cook yourself. There's a stove and there's a big fridge. Some of the kitchen utensils you can use. There's also showers with hot water, and bathrooms. So showers, male and female, separate. Same with bathrooms. We have some storage rooms and like laundry, small laundry. So that's basically it. So there's like just one big barn-like structure. And mostly those are just the tents. So some of these big safari tents have the deck. So because the pitch is like on the hill, so it goes like in levels.
Yeah. So is that mainly to make the most of the views that you've got
right.
as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the industry over there and the customer, I suppose, the guest. How is the industry now? Is it growing? Is it a new trend? Has it been around for a long time? Tell me a little bit about that.
So as I said, the market is really just emerging. There's not much glamping sites. We were discovering all the items that are here in Ukraine, is like maybe 5 to 7 newly established glamping sites that have like 1 or 2 seasons. The demand is great, and definitely since a lot of are emerging just year by year, we had like a fully packed pitch during last summer, which is amazing because we didn't do any advertising at the time. we barely switched everything, like the hot water, just June 1st, and we had our first guest. We didn't have an electricity yet because all the bureaucracy. You can imagine it's a difficult stuff without war going on, but with war, we had a contract like for a year, but it was just delayed. But we had solar panels and a diesel generator, and practically with that we were functioning. That helped us with the electricity for fridges and mostly just for water, but that was pretty much enough. So yeah, I think people are really interested in that kind of experience. We had a lot of question about whether there's any possibility to go with the caravan. And I was pretty surprised because definitely in Ukraine, it's not a very often item. You can see caravans. They are pretty expensive, and there's no much accommodation for that. We do have a camper, surprisingly, yeah, because we are a traveling family. We have a caravan. And it's actually parked on our page outside the building, and we live in it during the summer. And we know how broad the infrastructure is in UK for caravans, and like the whole family raised raised in caravans during the summer. And I think another like a new emerging market would be kind of a pitch for caravans. And it would be interesting as well. So yeah, as I said, with no advertisement, it's just like word of the mouth. We got at some point in July, we realized that we need to limit number of people that we want to see on the pitch, just to ensure we are not overcrowded and still have this comfort. We have a site with bookings, so we've asked that anyone who want to come, even with her own tent, would need to book. And if we see at this point that we are like pretty packed, we say, sorry, you need to visit our next week because we are packed. So yeah, I think this is a very trending sphere. There's a lot of things you can try on, a lot of options in terms of sleeping accommodation, like tents and bubbles, right? All this kind of stuff. So that's, as I said, Eastern Europe is really a place where they just starting to get the speed on, and there are no like big infrastructures so far. So that's a good start.
So is there any one particular structure that you think is the most popular amongst guests, or is this just such an emerging market that people will be interested in anything that's a little bit different?
I think for now you can pick. So the people will be surprised and interested, and I know there are a lot of like cabins right now that they are like being launched from here and there, but the cabin is a big of investment, right? It's much bigger than having any sort of a tent or infrastructure. But it's difficult to say if something is more attractive than the other. I think the whole idea of glamping, camping, and outside, kind of living outside or a sleepover outside, is so interesting and new that, like, and now this is the place where you can pick, and it would be a hit. The tree houses or whatever.
And what about materials, though? Are you finding it struggle to get the materials that you need for building? And are you able to access the tent structures that you want? How does that work in the Ukraine at the moment?
We mostly, in our pitch, we mostly build everything of wood. So, and this is local wood, as you would imagine. It's not difficult to, well, it's a bit of expensive. I thought it wouldn't be much cheaper, but the price of wood for the last 2 years actually raised a lot. But also there are a few companies in Ukraine that already can build you a tent. But they have like a wooden structure, solid wooden structure. They like with a canvas. So there are already companies that just launched, and they can build you anything. So I don't think there's any problem with materials.
It's interesting your comments there about the wood. This is something that we've had everywhere, that the material prices have gone up at crazy prices. And literally some projects have had their costs double, which is insane, really. But unfortunately, it's a sign of the times at the moment. But you were talking there about your structures and how you laid out your site. What kind of additional activities or leisure facilities do you provide? Do you provide hot tubs? Do you have streams and rivers where people can swim? You know, what happens there? Do you put playgrounds up, or do you just say it's all natural, just use the natural resources? How do you do that?
Okay, so we have a lot of ideas. As you imagine, the war stopped a lot of it. Definitely, when we launched last year, it was a big of a struggle because at my end, I had a more perfect vision when, like, the point when we are ready to invite guests. But this was the question to negotiate, and we are like, okay, so this is an MVP, right? We'll run it just for test. We'll say that, okay, we are partially open, come and visit us. So yes, there are a lot of ideas that still need to be developed. For now, we don't have much on the page, and during the last summer, it all was like structure work here and there. We have some bikes for rent. We do invite guests to go for a walk, to go for the waterfall or to the rocks. We have this small river just like two stairway steps of our pitch, but also a bigger river, which is called Stray River, when you can actually swim. But that's like more of a 40 minutes walk. This year we'll be establishing a playground. We have like hammocks along the pitch, and like those kind of chairs you can have a rest. And so kind of a hammock, between a hammock and a chair, which is actually like hung on the tree. So this kind of stuff. We have backpacks for rent, and especially those where you can carry on kids, like the backpack with the kids. We have an idea of some kind of more, not a hot tub, but maybe a sauna, which is more to promote when there is a bad weather. So that's pretty much an idea for this year and the next year, at least. And then we will see. We were definitely discussing the pool, but then we thought that this is kind of doesn't meet with our idea of a more of a natural rest, right? Because with the pool, you need to have a lot of chemicals to get it clean. You need a machine for moving the water that just sound with the sound. And we thought, okay, there definitely are plenty of places with a nice big pool where people just want to go for a pool. And maybe we want to attract people not just for the pool, but maybe for the whole experience, maybe for a fireplace, maybe for just running around with your dogs. And well, another point, there's not much place for now in Ukraine where you can go with your pets, especially if you have a bigger dog like a shepherd or something, or Labrador. And we were really surprised when a lot of guests came with their dogs, and we're like, okay, finally I have a place where to go for the weekend with my dog, because I cannot have it in the hotel. So yeah, so that would be just a place for to chill and to enjoy yourself. And maybe we'll definitely be evolving with some kind of activities for this year. We will invite a person to do some kind of master class to make something with kids. We have a really nice summer holiday, which is Ivana Kupala. It's kind of a mix of religious and before the religious times, but it's all about summer. It's all about making a huge fire. It's all about bonding with nature. We make those from grass. I don't know how it's called,
like a grass crown or something.
Right, yeah. Right. So you make this grass crown, and at the end of the evening, you put those crowns on the river, and they should like swim off. So there's a lot of traditional mixes in there, but that's a really beautiful holiday. And I really wanted to make it last year, but that was not a good time. But this year I definitely want to show my kids this holiday, because that's really beautiful. So definitely all the activities we thought that we'll have on our page would be more closer to nature. So maybe something doing with your hands, maybe some kind of pottery. So not the usual activities you have on the, I don't know, trade center or something where you go with the kids. So there's a lot of ideas that need a lot of maybe investments, but we kind of see it like, let's take one step at a time. And if we have people that visited us last year and they come this year as well, that would be a huge win for us. And if you can surprise them with at least minor improvements during the time that they were not visiting us, that's already a big win for us in the circumstances that we are now.
Absolutely. And do you think that people are ready now to start celebrating those regular events that you would normally have celebrated before the war, but now do you think they're ready to start emerging from all of, I suppose, a bit of the trauma of it all?
This is such a difficult question to answer about the point of celebration. And this is something we are struggling for the last year, the whole year, because there's no time for celebration, right? But at the other hand, there's a lot of traditions that we want to keep and we want to show our kids. And the thing that we are fighting for right now, it being able to speak our language, to have our traditions, and to teach our kids the same that we were taught, right? So this is we are fighting for. This is our friends are dying right now on the front line, and you know, you can say that, well, we can you know, stop celebrating Easter or start celebrating some kind of events for, okay, let's say 2 years, 5 years. But my middle daughter is 5 years old, so for her a 2 year period is half of her life. I cannot stop her life for 2 years. And this is the idea why actually we keep going, right? We keep working, we keep having our daily routines and daily traditions because of our kids, because they deserve to have a normal life. And at my opinion, or what's my excuse for that, I would say that I'm doing this for my kids. I want them to remember this year or that summer not by what happened to us. They will definitely remember it. They will learn it in books, but also to have their memories of their own, that they had an Easter and they had a Christmas, and they have a lot of their national holidays. They still keep having that in schools and in kindergartens. They learn poems, right? Because that is important. that's the life they're living. And I think that's if we understand that it's not much of celebration, but that's keeping off a tradition, them this is important, and we need to stick to it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really lovely way of explaining it. And I think that what you're doing with your business and how you've set that up is amazing, because you're opening up the potential for other people to do things that mean that they are creating some level of normality for their family, and to create those beautiful memories, lifetime memories that are so important for their children and everyone growing up. And as you said, for the very young ones, I mean, I've got young children as well, and the same thing, you know, a couple of years go by and it's a lot of their life, isn't it? And it's very formative, and to be closed down and not to be going anywhere and not to be knowing what it's like to enjoy nature and enjoy being nurtured by nature is
Right.
Yeah, a tricky one. And so the fact that you're opening it up to people and allowing them to access it, especially with their pets as well, is really fantastic. And so what's your hopes and dreams for your business for the next few years? What are you hoping for? What's your vision?
I think the main idea for us is kind of step-by-step improvements. We are learning like every day. We are not in hospitality business. I'm working in IT, and my husband is in public relations. So for us, this is like a daily education. But we wanted to have it step by step and see how we can improve. And a lot of we learn by actually running it, right? So we have a lot of feedback from our guests, what they would like, or like what their experience is, or what they have seen. But what we also understand is that at least at the location that our pitch is right now, we definitely see it as a small business. So for us, like a fully booked pitch is like 60 to 80 people, and that's a number we are okay, and we feel that everyone is comfortable with. But definitely, if you want to scale or have another business, that would be just in a different location. So this is something we kind of understand day by day. But as I said, we want to add some improvements, some extra uh, alternatives to rest, maybe a hot tub one day, yeah, but maybe a sauna, maybe I don't know, some kind of a more extended pitch for kids, because initially when we were just launching, we thought as a more of retreat for couples, maybe for young couples or without kids, and our idea completely transformed, because from day one we had people with kids, even if it was raining cats and dogs. We had kids. Well, my younger was 2 months old, but we have parents that came with the 6-month-old kids, and we thought and we understand that we were completely wrong, that people with kids need a place like that. So yeah, I think the idea is here to stay flexible, to learn every day, and kind of be able to absorb and hear back what people actually want, because that's the easiest way then, build something up and then to understand that that's completely something no one is needing. So we are pretty lucky enough, like, in any other kind of business, you need to run analysis, set some kind of metrics and then figure out what's going on. And here, just the weekend ended, and you have a lot of feedback. You have happy guests. You have requests for this food or other food. And that's easy. So you have everything. It just do your work. Do your work, do your homework.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what would you say to other people either in the Ukraine or in other parts of Europe, in other parts of the world, what would you say to inspire them, having gone through it all yourself, and now that you've got your business up and running and you've got these big dreams for the future?
I think that I would say that don't stop dreaming, right? And there's like no perfect time to establish something, because you can wait for that perfect time. It will never come. There's always something that will stop you, some fears, some risks, whatever you name it. If you truly believe in what you want or what you think you want, just do it. Just try as much as you can, and that will happen. And I think the main idea is here to not to be a perfectionist, right? Because why I really admire the idea of camping and glamping, because this is kind of like maybe a bad analogy about an old bar, or a pub, right? You cannot build it right away with that atmosphere, right? This is something that comes with time when the furniture is old and rubbed and etc. And the same is here. You cannot set where people will go, or like where's the best place to put this table or this hammock. This is something that comes with time, because you need to see how the sun goes up, and where people really enjoy to having a rest, or they don't like it, you'll put something out there and no one sits in there. So this is comes in time. Don't stress to make a perfect scenery, because camping and glamping, I believe this is something that helps you evolve with time, right? It's like, you'll put a tree, and in 5 years it will be a nice shade, right? So you need to invest that. So this is a place where you can start with small steps at a time. And this is also an idea that is pretty flexible enough that at some point you can completely transform, because a tent, you can put a tent and then remove a tent, put something else in there. If a trend changes, or you have an idea of new business. So that's a kind of a perfect canvas for your masterpiece. So just try it out.
Well, I think it's really inspirational what you've just said there. And I also noted down another thing that you said earlier, which is when you said, we don't call it a business, we call it a dream. And I think that's fantastic. I think for anyone else who's listening and thinking, oh, these challenges, all these barriers in the way, I can't do what I'm dreaming of doing. And you're showing us by your actions that actually you can do those things. You just need to maybe approach it in a slightly different way, tweak and change and evolve and develop over time. And I think that's really inspirational, and also, gives us all very valuable lessons to learn from. And so tell me, where can people go to get information about your site and where you're located? What's your web address?
So it's actually Ukraine, near Lviv, and it's malarichka.com, which is pretty difficult for English speaking people. But I believe you might put this information at your podcast, like just a link.
Yes, I will absolutely add all of that into the show notes so anybody can see, and in the description of the podcast as well. So anyone can see all the information and click it from there and go and have a little look at what you've done, and to be inspired by you more. And I'm sure that people will reach out and will get in touch with you, because you've got obviously a lot of knowledge to share. And I really do appreciate it very much that you got in touch with me and wanted to share your story, because this kind of thing I find incredibly enriching to my own life, to understand and learn how people have used glamping as a way of improving not only their own family's life, but the lives of other people around them who really do need it at times of challenge. And so I really do thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. And it's been a great pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I must say that your podcast and your courses are a lot of inspiration for us as well, because we were studying a lot of information before actually jumping in that kind of business. And I would suggest to anyone who's actually looking for an extra information, this is a good start. So Inspired Courses gave me a lot of information to think of and to search for. So please study, please listen, and thank you for having us, for responding. It was kind of a really surprise, because it's like, hey, feature in the famous podcast I've been listening to. But yeah, anything can happen. As I said, it was just a try.
Absolutely. And you make your own future so often. Often all you need to do is step outside of your comfort zone and actually write that email, or pick up that telephone, or get in touch in some way. That's the way to do it. That's, you step outside of your comfort zone, and that is where the most growth happens. So thank you so much again for coming today. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much.